Good afternoon, LinkedIn Live, the FinTech and lending community. My name is Jeffrey Ward. I'm the host today that'll be on the show, coming to you from a different spot as we have some contractors working on the house and some noise in my typical spot. Today, we are honored and grateful to have Doreen Hoffman. She is the Director of Compliance at Credibly. Doreen, thank you for being a guest on our show today.
Oh, certainly my pleasure. Thanks for having me. I wish I was someplace warm like you.
We're grateful to have you, very grateful. So Doreen, as we're preparing for our conversation today, can you lay out the foundation? What is Credibly? What do you guys do?
Sure, absolutely. So we are a small to mid-size lender, and we can finance loans or other financing products up to $400,000 in a matter of 24 hours. And one of our taglines is fast, flexible financing.
Fantastic. So you're specializing in doing some lending, and we could classify you as a non-traditional lender.
Yes, correct. That's absolutely right.
Fantastic. We love non-traditional lenders. We love the fact that you guys are aggressively going out there, changing the market and taking market share that didn't exist before.
Yes, absolutely. It's a great company.
Fantastic. So what do you do? What is the day of the life of the Director of Compliance at Credibly do?
Sure. So my background is I've been a creditor's rights attorney for 30 years. So I have a great background in not only consumer work, but also in commercial work. And so when I came on board, we were a startup in 2010, and we had tremendous growth and different trajectories for our company. And I was brought on to look at some of our policies and see how we are going to integrate the concept that some of the regulators consider small to mid-sized lenders also dealing with consumers, even though we only do commercial lending. So you can imagine there's things that I have to do with regard to policies, not only the policies, but also every aspect of the business, from origination, marketing, customer service, and management of our portfolio. So I'm sort of the police officer. Here's our regulations, and let's abide by those.
Very nice, very nice. I have a solution engineer that does sales evaluations when we have clients, and I get to play the good cop and he gets to play the bad cop. Sometimes that role switches itself around.
Yes. The good news is the team is wonderful. Any suggestion I have, they listen to it, and very pleased with how compliant we are.
Very good, very good. I saw as we were preparing that you're an endurance runner, and you've run races around the world in these unique places. How does your passion for extreme endurance and racing play into your leadership role at Credibly?
That's fun. General Counsel Joshua Crean, he is a bicyclist, and it's a lot of fun to talk to him, because sometimes when we look at a project, he'll say to me, remember, this is a marathon, it's not a sprint. And that's how I view the job, as well as my long races. I have a goal, and then I set up a game plan. I'm very analytical about that, and I like to have the plan so I can implement it. But I also know that along the way, life happens, and sometimes you get a curveball, and then you have to take a different track. So I look at it basically the same way, is that I'm not in it for the short satisfaction. Although a daily run counts just as much as my mileage at the end of a month, but I'm also for the long term. And I think what's helpful for me in combining the two is that I'm not dissuaded from the reaching the goal if those roadblocks do pop up. I know that if you just continue on and persevere, you'll eventually make that goal.
Yeah, I think that it's extremely important in setting up goals, and being able to accomplish those goals, whether they're on a daily basis, a monthly basis, on an annual basis. Because, I think there are days, as we all have, where you take 2 steps forward and sometimes 2 steps back. And some days you have 2 steps forward and you get to stay positive, all going towards that goal, which is fantastic.
Right. Just have to be nimble on our toes and dodge the curveballs.
Exactly. Just like what we've got delivered in 2021 or in 2020. Got
Yeah.
the COVID curveball. Quite amazing. So 2 years at Credibly, that must seem like yesterday. And I know we had talked a little bit about your accomplishments. When you were hired on, you had set up a roadmap of where you would like to be, and then COVID hit. So what have you accomplished so far, and how have you transitioned post-COVID?
Sure, absolutely. So when I started with Credibly, part of my responsibilities were to review and revise policies and also look at operations. I have I guess, sort of an expertise in portfolio management for the creditors, taking it from the beginning until the default of these. So it was interesting for me to come on and watch what our team was doing so that I could suggest more efficient ways to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm happy, I'm very proud to say that the first year basically was just doing that, looking at the operations, seeing what I thought could be changed, or also, of course, listening to what the team is saying and abiding by what they felt was best as well. But we've really done a great job of making our processes more efficient. And then, of course, as you mentioned, COVID hit.
Mm-hmm.
Was a big curveball. But I'm really pleased with our team and how we addressed handling the pandemic and what it would do to our customer base. And I'm very proud to be in collaboration with some brilliant minds and what we did for our customers that have allowed us to survive and continue to grow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think as we discussed a little bit yesterday, that with your leadership, with your team at Credibly, you guys saw this as an opportunity to provide flexibility for your clients, and that we would argue that in the long run, that flexibility will provide for long-term relationships between your clients and Credibly.
Yes, yes.
Fantastic. So without going too deep into the secret sauce of Credibly, what would you share that makes your organization stand out against your competitors, against the other non-traditional lenders in your space?
I have two things, actually. One is our executive team.
Mm-hmm.
We have a brilliant team that is just forward thinking, and they have as much passion for the business and the industry as anyone. And so it's really been helpful for me and a huge benefit to be able to talk to these individuals and see where their background came from and where they want to take the growth of our company. So I really am very pleased to be among that company. And then also, despite being an online lender where you think everything's automatic and no one has to talk to anybody,
Mm-hmm.
offer a personal approach. And so when the pandemic hit, as an example, I'm the director of compliance, but I would take phone calls, and working remotely, I give our customers my cell phone. I'm available to them, basically 24/7 because we lend across the country. And I've had really nice conversations with our customers, because when you look at these individuals who have worked so hard to build up their businesses to get to where they are, and now due to no fault of their own, they're suffering, it's nice to be able to tell them that we're here to help you, to assist you. This is a win-win for us. That's in my opinion, that's my goal, is to make this a win-win for both of us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And hopefully they realize that, when they reach out.
Yes, I would hope that they would appreciate the flexibility that you guys could offer during these times, right? Because the risk that you are offering to your clients, the funds that you're offering to your clients, you're accountable for, right? And so you have to be able to understand that risk. You have to be able to manage that risk, and you have to be able to communicate back to your investors and your creditors how you're dealing with that risk. So I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah, I found that, being a creditors' rights attorney for most of my career, or all of my career, I found that sometimes customers didn't want to reach out to the lender because they were afraid to talk to them. And I've always held open door policy, open communication policy. You communicate with me and I'll do anything I can to assist you. Mm-hmm. And what I found is, in my conversations with our customers over this last 9 months, that they just want to be reassured that everything will be okay and that we will work with them. And pretty pleased with how some of these have turned out.
That's fantastic. I love the fact that you guys are leveraging digital transformation to really shorten that loan life cycle for your clients. As a former lender, I remember the day when I would have to go from building the relationship to understand the credit request, get the documents to support that credit request, get that approved, get that funded, and then manage it. And in best case, maybe that was a month and a half to 2 months. So I love the fact, if I read your website correctly, you can do pretty much all of that in 24 hours or less. So that's
Yes,
a well-oiled credit machine. That's fantastic.
right. Kudos to that team.
Very much so. Very much so. That's
Yes,
phenomenal.
yes.
In your experience in law, tell us about how you've appreciated compliance and regulation, because I think sometimes we're scared of that. But tell us a little bit about your experience with that.
Sure. So for 17 years, I was an attorney in commercial lending.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got more involved in the consumer side, where the consumer side, in my opinion, was a lot more regulated. And back then, I remember saying a lot of times is that we don't fear regulation. What we fear is the chaos created by unclear direction in regulation. Just give us a list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what to do. We want to follow it. We want to be within the lines of regulation. But when it's uncertain or it's not clear, that creates confusion for so many parties. And so now that commercial online lending is going to be more regulated, in my opinion, we want the same kind of guidances that spell out the rules for us. We want to make sure we're doing it correctly. Don't leave it, to us to guess at what to do. So I think that as more and more states take on regulating the industry more, we're going to be faced with some differences because not all states operate the same. And so this is part of being nimble on your toes, making sure our clients keeps up with all 50 states. They have different regulations.
How do you, and that's a very interesting point, and I see this with non-traditional lenders just like yourselves. How do you deal with the different regulations and rules by product, by state? Do you guys, and we'll go specifically at loan documents, do you guys specifically deal with those type of documents in-house, or do you outsource that service with somebody that may have those rules and those regulations already boiled into their documentation?
Both. We certainly would seek outside counsel, but also the legal team, they've been doing this a number of years, so they have a good handle on what to do as well, but certainly willing to look outside for outside counsel if we're not clear of a direction.
And we have something exciting happening in 2021. Do you see anything from your perspective that our new administration might bring us, or anything along those lines?
It's hard to tell. I see more regulation coming, but I think we're prepared for it. I would think anybody in this space is expecting it. So it's a matter of what it will be, how soon it'll be implemented, and we just have to be, again, quick on our feet to adapt.
My kids always seem to do much better when they understand my expectations and my regulations. Maybe I should tell them it's time for some new regulations in 2021. Thank you for that humor. Sorry. What do you most enjoy about your position at Credibly?
I am so grateful that I have a position where not only do I spend much of my day doing what I've sort of been an expert in, and that's working in the portfolio and looking at the different laws and how it applies to our business and operations. But for me, when I first came to Credibly 2.5 years ago, it was my first introduction to financial technology and the fintech lender. And so there's so much going on in the space that I find it fascinating. And quite frankly, I don't have enough time in my day to keep up on all that is going on. So it brings so much new knowledge to me. It just keeps it fresh. So it's good that I have all the stuff I'm comfortable with, but then there's that stuff it's like, oh, I think I'm going to have to go research that and investigate that and see what's going on. So I really appreciate the opportunity to still, grow in my career.
hmm hmm Keep you nimble on your toes. I like that.
That's right. That's right.
Very good. Very good. As a thought leader, what advice would you offer to any young professionals wanting to get into law, wanting to get into lending, or wanting to get into technology?
It's a great space. I don't think you can go wrong getting into either of those fields or compliance. I think compliance is another really big field to get into, and there's so many different sort of opportunities in that. But I would just recommend that you be curious
hmm
and, ask questions. And also when there appear to be doors that are in front of you, go ahead and open them because you just might be surprised at what's across the threshold.
hmm hmm I like that. I like that. That's fantastic. Well, Doreen, we greatly appreciate your time. We wish everybody on LinkedIn that is our audience today a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. 2021 will be here before we know it. I'm so excited. And Doreen, we hope that you have a wonderful year in 2021. And thank you so much for being a guest today.
Well, thank you for having me, and I look forward to seeing you again in 2021.